Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome. Sorry for the brief delay. Had a little bit of a update on the Zoom that slowed things down. All is well. We're here, ready to go. Hello, Bob. Good to see you. And good afternoon, Greg. We'll give it just a minute, just in case anyone was trying to get in and couldn't. I got that. Thank you for the clarification, Stephen. I hope you guys saw. I ended up taking making a photo file of the options matrix. Saw it, got it, good. Anyone who didn't, I posted that in Discord. You can grab it from there, and I will also look into the recording issue, see what's going on. All right, good. Welcome to the Market Watch Group weekly market wrap. Okay, I feel pretty good about what the market did. We're going to talk about it, but overall, I think could have been much worse. We're still, a little bit watching, a little bit suspicious, but felt really good. Love it, Stephen. I hope so. I hope you felt like you were managing your trades with maybe more clarity. IBM, good, nice, love it. Love it. Hello, Nick. Good to see you. So let's talk about it. Disclaimers. Here they are. As always, education, illustration, demonstration, and go from there. So, agenda. Today's market analysis. We're going to revisit our market posture, see what it looks like as we go into the weekend. Mindset for trades. Remember, it's 3-day weekend. Things definitely are looking like the buyers are fatigued. If you haven't already scaled, I think you should. That's just my observation of the market. If you carry, make sure you carry with specific objectives and that you see what you want to see for the momentum. There's a couple of things you can have a very good argument for it, but yeah, I would be careful. At the same time, we did not get a VIX hedge signal. We actually yesterday got to the same low. There's no higher low setup anymore, but options are still the VIX options, or the VIX indicator shows us that options are still very cheap. So if you are carrying bullish trades, if you're like, oh, I'm a little worried, go take a look and see 5% out of the money, 5 weeks out in time, a nice little hedge, about $1.25, $1.30 a contract. 3 of those, less than $500, would give you quite a bit of protection if things were to go all of a sudden awry. So something to consider, right? Is always, should we think about some type of a hedge? Chart question, real quickly. Bob said, I get volume on SPY, not on SPX with the same setup, because SPY is a stock and is trading independently, whereas SPX is a calculation. It's an index. So it doesn't technically trade. You can trade options and you could get volume on the options, right? And see the volume and open interest. But the SPX itself is tradable in derivative form, but there is no volume on the index. And so with the index, all you're getting is the exact composite of the 500 companies. Any index is going to be the same, VIX, no volume, etc. Great question, and I'm glad to add that clarification. What are we going to look for next week? Well, if we're closing things and starting to scale back on things, next week we look for, if the sellers come, as they come, how strong do they come? If they come strong, we'll be glad we really dialed everything back and maybe put a hedge on. If they don't come very strong, then they're giving us our next setup. We could live with either way, right? We'll be fine. I feel well poised for either of those situations, because if it pulls back, gives us 2 or 3 days, and then all of a sudden it turns again, fabulous. I'm ready to go. We'll have setup after setup. We'll see in the watch list. So yeah, I'm not, there's no real concern as of right now. All there is opportunity and what we're looking for. We'll look at our list and what we think might be setting up. And remember that we're wrapping up section 2. So hopefully you feel more and more comfortable with your market forecast routine, with what you're looking for, why you're looking at it the way you do, how to score it, how to reconcile if you ever think it's a little too much one way or the other, things like that. All right, let's dive in. Okay, let me get my notes here. And okay, so what's going on today? We actually, over the last 2 days, so yesterday, if you survived, certainly if you closed some trades yesterday, I get it. Hopefully you closed them closer to the top than the bottom. But we started to get a sense of weakness. What kind of candle do we have there? That's a hanging man candle. Today, what do we have? We opened a little higher, and you'll actually notice that we have a little bit of an engulfing from the body. We're not engulfing the full range. We are engulfing the body. So what is our thought process here? That we're hitting resistance, that the volume has dropped off considerably. So what do we see here? No buyers. The buyers never got an above average volume day, which means our volume score is likely to drop again, right? Now, all of a sudden, this and this is outweighing. And because all of this back here is falling off, and we're saying, hey, that's no longer relevant. We're always asking, what have you done for me lately? And as long as the sellers don't come in strong, it's okay. The buyers we don't need buyers. But if we see too much more of the sellers, it's going to go negative. And that's certainly a precursor that's going to have us be much more cautious in the way that we trade. So that right there is a big one. It's also for our trading posture. What are we thinking here? Again, if you haven't, we should at least be scaling. You might just be finishing saying, you know what? It's pinching at the top in an overbought condition. I have 3 days in a row where I haven't gotten above the previous resistance. It's certainly showing some strength in that regard. So any bullish trades that I'm in now, I would absolutely be thinking about even finishing the trade prior to the weekend, and then thinking about the next window, the next time that we pull back. Could this thing continue bullishly early into next week? Of course it could. Won't be till Tuesday. So if you decide I'm going to hold on to something, great. Make sure you know what, how much, where's your stop, what are you going to do to manage that trade as you go forward for the next day or two. Okay. So let's take a look at the VIX, and then we'll go through our posture and today's news. So this is what I mean. So I was looking at last week, the last low right here, these 3 days, and it was very, very close. This day was a low of 12.37, 12.38, 12.36, all within 0.02 of each other. And where was yesterday? 12.35, right at and actually just slightly below, but we definitely got to the same point. It is somewhat mathematical for me when it's an automatic signal. So right now, there is no higher low trigger for or even a setup for it. At the same time, what have we said about hedging? Well, anytime the VIX is near 12, you have an opportunity to give yourself a little bit of cheap protection, even if you just want it for 5 days to get you through this long weekend. Make sure nothing crazy happens. You put that on, because if all of a sudden things drop hard, great, you have that in place, and you're going to go manage all those bullish trades that you carried through the weekend. But if things look good, you give it, you watch it, you take a small loss. What you made from the other trades you're carrying should more than exceed it, and you move on. That's a great way to hedge and to get yourself through some spots where you're a little less than certain. Okay. Just closed an SPX trade for nice gain, long weekend. Where is you? There you go. Hedge is 5 weeks out, 5% out of the money. That's exactly right. 5 weeks out, 5% out of the money. That's what I look for, because I'm only going to be looking to hold that for a week, maybe 2 at the most, unless you really catch something big, and then you're going to hold on to it. But most of the time, you're going to look to dial it back, take a few gains, tighten stops, and be ready to shut it down once it's no longer needed. Okay. What do we have today? Did I update this? A lot of back and forth, right? A lot of back and forth. We started up, we dropped, then we went positive. Now we're negative again. The Dow, so we're minus 0.07 on the S&P. We're minus 0.45 on the Dow, only minus 0.13 on the NASDAQ, 0.31 down on the Russell. So it's not bad, but it definitely looks like buyer fatigue. Oil was pretty strong. Now it's only up 1%. Citigroup plans to cut 20,000 jobs over the next 3 years, right? Okay. I mean, that's not a catastrophic warning, but we are definitely going to be watching for that type of news. One of the first things that we're looking for is weakness in the labor market. If we start to see that, everything else we see, we're going to be a little bit more sensitive to. Economic news this week. Where are we? Nope. Let me go to last week then. So today, the core CPI, so the PPI and the CPI, surprisingly, and this surprised me. If you came last night, we talked about this a little bit, but I thought for sure that 3.4 was going to turn things around, and it did intraday, but then it got it back. And you're like, it's showing us some resilience to this market that actually is what we would expect with a posture of the score we have. So for me, I'm thinking, okay, it's holding up. Even when it got this news, the Fed came out and said, our position hasn't changed. And so if you look at the Fed Watch tool, of course, we already know nothing's going to happen in April. There's no expectation. Still 93% priced in that nothing happens. But at one point it was 1.5, and then for a while it was around 2-1. Now you look here and it's almost 4-1 that we get a rate cut in the March. So the expectations have accelerated based on what the Fed has said, based on the numbers. We still see things the way we've been seeing things, which confirms our bullishness. If you look at May, same thing. In fact, what we have priced in at a fairly high probability is a 25-point cut in May or in March, and a second 25 basis cut in May, half a point over those first two. And that supports a bullish posture. Nothing has changed. I feel good about it. That's how I see it. Let's go actually look at the specifics. So let's go SPY. And if you have trades you want to look at together, we'll have time. So throw them at me. If you're like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one, let's talk about it. So here, and remember, we said just because this is rolling over doesn't mean we're done. Just like back here, same exact thing. It's like, oh, it looks like it's over, and then bam, pretty strong. Are we going to maybe see a little pause and then get a little bit more bullish? Of course we could. I'm not saying that's what it is, but for me, as far as a trend is concerned, this looks great still. There's no change in that score. If you look here, we technically got to a slightly higher high. I'm not going to consider it a higher high. It's the same high. However, I don't have evidence necessarily that it's done. So this is going to be an interesting one. I might dial that back by a quarter of a point, simply because it didn't get a new higher high by much, and so it's a little bit of buyer fatigue at the top of this. So yeah, I could see this dropping. Let me know what you think. Volume, of course, also looks like it's going to drop. You only have and again, we're going to lose this as of, this is what we'll have. Well, this is what we'll look at. So we have a couple of bullish days here, and then we don't have much after that. We have selling, a little bit of buying there. We have selling. It's really looking like a tie, and that the buyers are hitting this part of the chart that we consider stale. I think that, do I have my score up here? Let me pull that up real fast. Market posture. Okay. $1.5. So yeah, I could see the short term. I could see myself dialing that back for sure. 1.5. I could see the volume dropping to 0. We might dial this back to a 5. Okay, so that's, yeah, I could see this easing up. I could see it definitely easing up. Now, at that point, where I'm a little more concerned because I'm dropping from a 6.5 to a 5.5 over a 2 week period, and it could be worse. Let's just keep looking. So major market, I would actually think would stay the same. We'll see what the Russell looks like. If we lose the strength of the Russell, that's going to drop a quarter. Sector still, I think, looks great. The sectors are still strong. The VIX, what do we think about the VIX? Yeah, I don't know. I do think that I think I would leave it alone, actually. I mean, it got down to the same low. This we already knew about. That's already accounted for. I'd probably just leave it. Does the fallback seem to fall in line with the seasonal? Yeah, I need to find that link again. I lost that seasonal chart. I can't remember if I had it in the doc or not, but yes, we do tend to see a bit of a sideways to consolidation period in the second half of July from a cyclical standpoint. So that definitely makes sense. What we're hoping for is that it doesn't accelerate too much here. Does it stay underneath this level? Right. So if it comes up a little bit like this and rolls over, that's fantastic right there. That would actually be quite a strong confirmation of a new bullish trade. If it accelerates and ever breaks above this line here, definitely I'm expecting trouble from that point. So we'll always keep an eye on that. But yeah, I think I'm going to end up dropping my score a half of a point. I'll be down to a 5.5. Yes, it's dropped a point, but it is definitely still bullish overall. Looks like it's heading for a pinch. I agree. I think our market posture is going to still be bullish, but a little less bullish. Our trading posture, absolutely cautious, right? Our trading posture is finishing bullish trades. If you're a real gunslinger trader, you might even put on some speculative bearish trades. It's much more aggressive to do that in even though we are down a point, you're still in a 5.5 market. So it might only drop for a couple of days and shoot up on you like over here and really disrupt you if you have too much on the wrong side. Hedging makes sense. Calendar spreads. Calendar spreads. So if you we've done a few of these. Let me just show you. This is a new one. This is a new one here. Well, but if you're following some of these calendar spreads, I'm going 2 weeks, January 26th, 4 weeks, February 9th at the money. You're just buying that spread. Definitely something that you could be paper trading if you're getting into those strategies. Looks very strong. Steven says still bullish with a conservative mindset. That's it, right? We're bullish. That's our posture, our market posture. Our trading posture says I'm a little more conservative. I'm a little more cautious. I'm going to be patient simply because we just finished a bullish window that actually worked out pretty good. Now what? Now we're patient. We wait for it to reload, to get a little rest. And as long as the underlying conditions stay intact and we don't have a sell-off, but only a pullback, if it's more than a pullback and it becomes a sell-off, we start to change our perspective and adapt very quickly to that new perspective. Okay. Green line and purple line, what are they? Green line is expiration. That's what it looks like if it gets to expiration. Purple line is today. And so if you were to watch, how does this move as time decays? I advance this and you can see the green line doesn't move, but this continues to move up. And so that is a time element. Up already a little bit. Bob said, nice, very nice. Love it. Okay. So let's get to the watch list. And we can talk about any of these. If you've traded them, let me know. If you're still in them, let me know. Apple. Yeah, I see Apple as consolidative, meaning there's no trade for me until I see the pattern of buyers gaining control, getting a little bit higher, which in this case, if nothing else, would mean at least into this gap, which is above the 50. This isn't enough. I wouldn't be surprised if this drops down into this 175 to 180 range from here. I'm not bearish on Apple because I'm not going to bet against it while I'm in a bullish market. That doesn't make sense for me, but I definitely am spectating to see. Now, it might surprise me and come down and get to 180. Okay. I'd still wait for a bigger break. I'd wait for it to take out this high, get up into this, 188, 180, 190 region. Then on the consolidation, when the sellers fail to push it to a certain point, that's our cue. Now we believe that supply and demand shift has occurred. Bob put on a hedge because I have several bullish options that expire next week. Perfect. Makes a lot of sense. I love it. I hope that these strategies are giving you that feel of control, right? When I say, how are you feeling? My thought is, am I in control? Is the professor at the computer, right? Is the chimp locked up in the cage? Those are the questions. AIG setting up. This could be a trade early next week. It's pinching. If this weren't the Friday before a 3-day weekend, I think you could consider this for an anticipatory trade. Get it on, get a stop underneath here. It still needs some price confirmation, and with a market that has dropped from a 6.5 to what we think will be a 5.5, maybe that's when we say, you know what, I'm going to dial back the anticipatories. I'm going to wait for full confirmation until I see this stabilize and regain a tick or two to the upside. Okay, I love that. Makes sense. AMD overextended. It's given you plenty of time. If not, you can see it could be a bull flag. Absolutely. It could pull back for 2 or 3 days and then take off again. A nice little mini cup and handle, or it could retrace all the way back. We don't know. That's why we're going to watch this when it's done pulling back. Next confirmation is a signal. Okay. Amazon. Same thing. This is pinching. It's engulfing. We've already had this. It's the second day that we've failed to get even up to this area. Great time for scaling. There's a couple of these that look like they could keep pushing, but most of them are really starting to look like they're overbought. We're exhausted. We're hitting a period cyclically, the second half of January, where there's more headwinds. So if you're in any of these, and these are exactly the trades we talked about earlier back in this area, AXP still consolidating. If it gets a trade early next week, I think that there's time. Before earnings, but not much, right? I would want it to come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and see if it stabilizes. It's a big red candle today, you notice, but look at the volume. Yeah, I'm not like it's still higher than yesterday's low. So I still look at this and think, yeah, that could definitely be finding a nice support level, still well above the 50-day moving average. Can I check pins? Absolutely. And TSM, I'll look at them both. I'm superstitious. I got to stay in alphabetical order, but I'll hit them when I get to those. And that makes you guys have to stay around and hang out with me. Boeing just keeps dropping. We'll watch it, but there's no trade here for a while. BK gapped on earnings. Nothing you could have done. but it definitely adds to ongoing strength for financials. BLDR trade that set it up back about a week ago on this engulfing. Nice trigger here. Certainly looks like it's running out of steam. I don't know. Yeah, I'd wrap it up. BLK earnings, not much for us to do but watch. NTSB told Boeing this must not happen again. Oh, that's insane. Yeah, I mean, that's Blackstone. I don't know. You can see that the stochastic says that we're coming into the buying cycle, but we're just not seeing it. So I'm getting skeptical of Blackstone. Citigroup actually looks like a potential trade as well in the line of AXP. A couple of financials that you could think about if you were looking for new bullish trades next week. Caterpillar failing to get to the old high. Let's make sure we're mindful of this weakness. This would have been a successful trade had you gotten in down in here, unless you rode it all the way till the end of today. Maybe a break even, maybe successful. Either way, I'm a little bit nervous because Boeing is dragging down industrials. Now Caterpillar failed to get to the previous high. BLDR failing to get to the previous high. That's 3 industrials where I'm like, wait a second, failing to get to the previous high. So I want to be mindful of that when it comes to evaluating industrial trades. Costco looks phenomenal. This is one that we saw back here, still going. Could you carry this through the weekend? Absolutely. Absolutely, I would. Crowd, beautiful one. We talked about this entry way back here. Really, anyone in this put this on? Put a call on this morning, up 55. Oh, on Boeing? On Citi. Okay. Citi. I was like, whoo, that's scary. Someone asked, would I be looking for an opportunity to buy cheap shares on Boeing? No. Because I don't know when it's done being cheap. Right now, I see this. At the very least, what would have to happen is it would have to break this line, bam, get all the way up at least to here, maybe even a little higher. Then on the way back down, it would have to not get lower than this one. Right? So you can see if we did that same thing here, what are we waiting for? It broke up, but then what did it do? It got lower, right? By the time it got to here, it was a new consolidation. It breaks up, it pulls back. That's the first time, right there. That's if I lost my pencil. That one. I'm not trying to catch that bottom. I'm good with this one because you'll notice once we got that breakout with that confirmed higher low, then what happened? Then we got this. So same thing. If you're agnostic to the news and all you do is look at price, that's what we're waiting to see. With any consolidation, anytime you have something coming down, that's what I want to see. That's what I'm waiting for, is that breakout. That's the buyers on their smash and grab. Then they're gonna be tired. The sellers come in, comes down. How much does it come down? If it doesn't come to the old lows, then we think sellers are finished. The buyers are going to overwhelm them again. That's what we're looking for. That's my trade. And watch out for earnings. That's what happens is we might get some of that set up and then all of a sudden it's sitting on earnings and you're like, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. CSX. I don't like the way that one's moving. It's just kind of grinding around sideways with a lot of ups and downs. DAL got beat up on earnings. Nothing for us there. DHI looks a little overextended. So you can see a lot of things are looking the same way. Running out of steam, overbought. ENVX, I'm kicking it off the list. We're not interested. It failed. It dropped. There's nothing here. It was really a visitor on the list anyways. We gave it like a tryout. It failed. Fastenal. Another industrial. If you had gotten in on the signal down here, it has moved up. A bullish trade would be successful, but what are we again noticing? We're failing to recover. We're failing to get back to the old highs. The buyers are a little bit wary of these levels. You're coming into earnings. So for me, I'm going to be extra cautious with any trade that's sitting in the industrials. GE looking overextended, just closed fast, small gain. Yep. Gold looks like it's bouncing. Who knows? Google, great trade, hitting resistance. Yep. That's the end of it now. Home Depot, great trade, hitting resistance. That's the end of it. It doesn't look like there's anything there that says, hey, carry this through the 3-day weekend to see if you might get more. When you say it out loud, you're like, oh, that kind of sounds like I'm asking for something that really isn't there. IBM. Now, IBM, could we hold through the weekend? Now, this one would not be one I took. I didn't like the lower low, but it definitely looks good. If you're in it, absolutely. Everything about this looks good. Momentum looks good. Candle looks good. Breaking the new highs. That's what you would need to see to carry a trade through the weekend. ICE, nothing there. Intel failed. That was a failure. IWM. IWM is really in a precarious place right at this support level. If it breaks to the downside, we're definitely going to see our major market score diminish. So again, we're definitely open to the signs of if this market is going to soften up a little bit, and we're watching closely. JP Morgan looked great, rallied. Now we're all the way back down. I mean, it hasn't broken the trend. The trend still looks good. I would still want to watch how this plays out over the next couple of days. KKR, we're seeing a little bit in the financials. There's a little, yeah. Could this market have gotten a little overblown, a little too far, too fast, and it's got to ease up and find its way back down to that 50, test it a little bit? Of course, we could see that. Great. If we're going to see that transition, we want to make sure that we're not holding a bunch of bullish trades, hoping things recover in a time when it's not as likely to do so. Meta is one you could argue to hold a little bit, right? It still looks like it might grind a little out. You can see back here, it really gave it a push. But if you took it all off the table, I would be like, yeah, I get it. It is pinching. You've gotten a real nice trade out of it. 3-day weekend. That's a lot of uncertainty. Microsoft, if you held on, it looks good at this point. I'm convinced I'm definitely going to trade the next pullback, but I'm not going to chase this trade, certainly. Right? I'm going to wait to see if this thing pulls back towards, I don't know, 375 to 377-ish. There's a great trade waiting for us there. Netflix looking a little overextended. NVIDIA, missed that one. I definitely went the wrong way. I don't know if anyone took this one. That's beautiful. But it definitely looks like it's come to an end. Paccar is another industrial that's struggling. Yeah, I'm really starting to see that pattern and not like it for the industrial sector. That might cause our sector rotation to dial back a little bit. So there's actually a couple things we're watching closely. Here's pins. Pins, same thing, right? It still looks very bullish, but it doesn't look like there's justification to carry this. We want to now wait and see. Is it going to pull back to 36 and we can get back in? Definitely want to be mindful of that and where it might pull back to. 36 is good. I wouldn't want it to pull all the way back. At that point, it's more sideways. Two highs that are the same. If we got two lows that are the same, it looks like it might be in a little bit of a horizontal pattern. Here is PNC. PNC, you'll notice, is all of a sudden broken. If it only broke that, I'd be okay. Now it's broken this and into this gap. But if it pulls back and stabilizes above the 50, there may be an opportunity there for us. QQQ. Bullish markets can definitely get overblown, have a little retracement, 5%, 7% consolidation, and then it's ready to go again. Yeah, that makes sense, especially with how strong November and December were. The QQQ failing to get to, failing to get to the previous high, a little concerning. RCL failing to get to the previous high, a little bit concerning. SMCI hitting resistance. Snap already hit resistance, already pulling back. Got to the old high, but not higher. So we're mindful. We're definitely open to these signals. SPY, very much the same, hitting the old high, but not getting much beyond it. UMP, maybe there's something there. These signals, as they fail to materialize, get a little bit more iffy. Here's the VIX. The VIX is still low. What did I miss? Somebody else had one that I missed. TSM. Oof, I almost missed it. TSM. Taiwan Semiconductor. Concerning, right? It gave you a signal and it's just failed to materialize. This is where we expected the buyers to really come in, like they did on AMD, like they did on NVIDIA, but they didn't on Intel, and they're not on TSM. So yeah, if this was me, you got earnings, you got this weekend, I would be absolutely, thinking to myself, if nothing else, I would pair if it's a break even, I'd just ease the risk of the trade by cutting it in half, saying, all right, let's see if we can go. And if not, I'll take the loss on Tuesday. But yeah, I'm definitely leaning more towards things wrapping up. Walmart on the next pullback, I would look at that. Biotech still looks strong. Could be an opportunity setting up here for next week. XLB materials, nothing there. So communication services looks great. Still very strong as a sector. Energy's down. Financials looks like it's getting a little toppy, right? A little bit concerning here. Industrials looking like a bit of a head and shoulders pattern. Let me draw it. So there's the shoulder. There's the head. There's the shoulder, which means this is our neckline. Very concerning to break this. Very, very concerning, which basically says this got a little ahead of itself. Now, could we just have a 10%? 10%, that's about $11.50. That puts us at 103. That's all the way down here. So 10% might be a little much. 5 to 7, that would be about somewhere in this range. So yeah, this thing could definitely come down, or it could come up and come down. And then after it goes through this, then we look for that next opportunity. Okay, whatever we see, that's what we're going to end up trading. We're open to it, but certainly we have to be aware of this as a development within the industrial sector. Technology got close, so it's showing a little bit of concern. However, this was big enough that if we do this and come out of it on top of the 50, then we're still happy with technology as being able to help lead this market with communication services. XLP, steady, but we don't see a surge in defensiveness. XLU, we don't see a surge in defensiveness in utilities. XLY, consumer discretionary, a little bit of concern in the discretionary. So just as we talk through this, I would actually amend and say that we might find even a little bit more weakness from sector, or from the sector rotation. Maybe. Okay, we'll adjust. Questions, comments, concerns, trading plan. Remember, that's what we're focused on, is section 2. Making sure that we are comfortable with your weekly market posture process, comfortable with each component, the what, the why, the how, comfortable with the implications when you're done. But I want you to notice that our primary focus Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays is trading posture. Where are we in a trading window? Are we at support, bouncing, and we're putting trades on? Are we at resistance and scaling back and taking profits and protecting? So our trading posture, if someone's like, "Oh, are you bullish?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm bullish," but that doesn't mean I'm just slapping bullish trades on. Right now, I'm unwinding bullish trades that worked and some that maybe broke even and never materialized. It already took a loss or two on the ones that failed. That was a bullish window. Now we're going to watch and see what the bears can do. If they come strong, it's going to change our posture, and we're going to be scored down, and we're going to start looking at what would we do instead. But the one thing we're not going to do is give back profits, because we're just the frog feeling the water get hot around it and thinking everything's okay. If it's going to change, we're ready to see it change. Should I keep the SPY spread and the hedge on? What kind of spread is it? Is it a bullish spread with the hedge, or is it a bearish spread and a bearish hedge? Okay. What do we have going on? With some, yeah, probably. I'm gonna do my best, Steven. I'm gonna do my very best. Sunday. We are Sunday, right back at you. Sunday, we're gonna have our weekly posture. I'm gonna hopefully be implementing a new spreadsheet that has the ability to add the new dates automatically. Very cool. I'm hopefully going to be sending a survey out to everybody. I'd like to gather some info from everyone, because we are looking to get the alert services going, where we're going to be sending out some specific alerts every week, couple of trades every week, starting by a week from Monday. So I believe that's the 22nd. And I definitely want your input on the best way to present it, the information, et cetera, et cetera. So look for that. Other than that, be safe. I'm expecting more snow this weekend, so gonna get some good exercise, shoveling it, and I will see everybody on Sunday. And happy trading.